Hello and welcome back to part 2 of Deuteronomy 22, talking about cross-dressing and ways this passage has been misused to harm trans people and context and not harming others. If you recall from our previous video, Deuteronomy 22 verses 1 through 8 is about not doing harm to others, and more specifically, not passively allowing others to experience harm. If you see someone's animal escape, you have a responsibility to help that animal get back to its owner. If you're building something, you have a responsibility for that building to be safe so that people don't get hurt. So why then is there a verse in the middle of this passage that has to do about cross-dressing, a woman wearing a man's clothing, a man putting on a woman's clothing? Well, the first thing to note is that there is a refrain in verses 1 through 8 about not avoiding your neighbor to avoid helping them. And this word is a Hebrew word which means to conceal, to hide, to be hidden. So in other words, if you see your neighbor is getting in trouble in some way, don't duck in an alley and pretend like you didn't see it. That's why clothing is being brought up in Deuteronomy 22 verse 5. It's a way of concealing yourself. Hey, imagine like a verse Mulan situation. Hey, we're gathering all the men together to go fight this battle or raise a barn or something, and your brother is like, I don't feel like doing that, so I'm going to go put on my sister's clothes so I look like a woman and I have to avoid these duties. Or in the case of a woman not putting on a man's clothing, the word for man's clothing is the Hebrew word keli, and it is a word that in every context except this verse for probably, anti-trans, anti-gay reasons, always refers to male armor when it's referring to something that you put on. In ancient Israelite society, the women would have to take care of female medicinal issues, particularly around menstruation, things like that. And so imagine a situation in which one of your elders is going through a difficult time physically, and you're gathering the community of women to help take care of that elder. And your sister's like, nope, that's gross. I don't want to do it. So I'm going to go put on my husband's armor. So I am avoiding them to help my neighbor. There's a deep irony here because the way this verse has been used by anti-LGBTQ folks is to basically shame folks with gender dysphoria into not putting on clothing that would make them feel more comfortable in their own bodies or own skin. So, for instance, somebody who was assigned female as birth is forced to keep wearing feminine clothing even though they don't feel comfortable in it. In other words, they are forced to hide their true selves in order to make society happy. But the point of the passage is, don't hide yourself. Don't conceal yourself. In order to be a force for good in your community, don't hide yourself. Be who you truly are so that you can help your society. When this passage is used to force gender nonconforming folks, trans folks, people with gender dysphoria into society's pre-made boxes around gender, we're actually cutting against the grain, the purpose of this scripture.